many world-famed institutions that have been built by man, none is more sacred than that which has been alluded to as home, sweet home, the sentiment of which has been so beautifully enshrined in a song that is known the world over. The author of Home, Sweet Home was John Howard Payne, who lived much of his boyhood in this quaint old homestead at East Hampton, Long Island, New York. According to tradition, it was the memory of this old home that inspired Payne to write the simple poem, Home, Sweet Home, which was set to music by Sir Henry Bishop, a British composer. Consequently, Great Britain and the United States may jointly claim this immortal song, now known throughout the world as the song that breathes the universal sentiment of home, a sentiment that can be better understood and appreciated when it is seen in some of the quaint and more remote parts of the world. And it is with this thought that we journey to Ceylon, a delightful little island just off the southern coast of India, where simplicity is the keynote of home life, and Mother Nature is a most benevolent provider. Here life pursues the even tenor of its way, and a motley array of human beings live in an atmosphere of peace and contentment that is unknown to the Western world. As in all countries, the proverbial homemakers are the women. The Sinhalese women appear to be more exalted and freer than the women of India from whom they have descended. This may be due to the fact that they live in a more healthful climate and their home life is obviously more simple. We leave these happy people with the blessings of nature upon their homes and the teachings of the gentle Buddha in their hearts, and we continue our journey to a quaint old fishing village in Ireland, enshrined, as it were, with a picturesque setting that is typical of the more humble aspect of Irish home life. This is the Claddagh village of Galway, where the houses have been built according to the dictates of family, and in consequence form a most confusing jumble, in which the back door of one family may open into another family's front yard. The Claddagh residents are unquestionably the most home-loving people in Ireland, for although that country is noted for the excessive immigration of its people, these simple folk have been content to remain at home in the most humble of circumstances. Circumstances which apparently have in no way interfered with their happiness. And now the lure of travel and the thrill of contrast brings us to the picturesque harbor of Hong Kong, where thousands of Chinese families are born and live and die in sampans. The sampan has been for centuries the typical craft of eastern waters, and it forms without doubt one of the most interesting features of Chinese civilization. The word sampan itself is a contraction of two Chinese words, sam meaning light and pan meaning wood. These light wood boats of every size and description hug the overpopulated shores of Hong Kong, forming a conglomeration of floating houses filled with all the intimate sights of the household. There is a certain fascination about these people, as they seem to be a race apart. They are much more independent and aggressive than those of their kind who have to struggle for life ashore. And all this has been going on for countless centuries, in which the inhabitants of these sampans have lived and died in firm defiance of Western civilization. And now again, in search of contrast, we continue our journey to Japan, where home life is strange and yet familiar. The scenery here is like an old picture on a Japanese screen. And the dainty little women are but the reincarnation of pictures we have seen on paper fans and teacups. Politeness is the keynote to etiquette in this land of gentle manners, and it invests the ordinary acts of daily routine with a poetic delicacy that lends charm to life's simplest precepts. The life of the typical Japanese woman is obscure, but full of simple delights, the most exalted of which are the pleasing of her husband and the perfection of good manners. She has been brought up to regard marriage as a predestined affair, to be settled solely by her family. Therefore, matrimonial anxiety never concerns her. Neither does fashion, as the style of her dress never changes. The habitual sweetness and serenity of the Japanese women, therefore, may be due to the fact that they are not annoyed by the petty worries that are so common to women of the Western world. Unfortunately, however, Western influence is becoming more noticeable in the Japanese home. Tables and chairs, for example, are the latest innovation. Nevertheless, Japan has accepted the new without sacrificing the old, and the adoption of a foreign mode of thought has not so greatly affected the national life as it is universally supposed. But now our journey to the home sweet homes of the world is drawing to a close. We have only visited a few, but we have seen enough to realize that the home, regardless of where it is the foundation of human happiness, and we can think of no more fitting tribute to its perpetuation than the old homestead that inspired John Howard Payne to write his immortal poem, which has become one of the world's most famous songs. Mid pleasures and palaces, though we may roam, be it ever so humble, there's no place like home. A charm from the skies seems to hallow us there, which seek through the world is ne'er met with elsewhere. Home, home, sweet, sweet home. There's no place like home. There's no place like home.